Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WeatherBrains. This is episode number 602 for July 31st, 2017. It's the pre-show, and you know what this is. This is that magical time of the program where we share boring personal stories, humorous anecdotes, and occasionally say outrageous things. And we get our guests online. And we have Damon who is joining us. See, Damon, we're hearing something. We're not seeing you yet.
Let's see.
And you know it's going to be an odd show when our guest is the first one to join me here. And actually, we're doing kind of everything backwards tonight. Typically, I am at work, and I am not working this week. I am taking this week off. And often we will do one of these in advance, but this week we just decided, hey, I'm here, not out of town. Let's just do it at home. So here we are. That obviously is a fake background back there. I think Brian Peters is actually working my shift at the TV station, so we'll see if Brian can join us. Damon, can you hear us? Yo, Damon. Let's see if we play him some sounds here.
The central pressure, the main energy part of this.
Yo, Damon. So we have no regular panelists, and we have our guest who cannot be seen or heard. So this is not good. I have never tried. Actually, you know, I have talked for probably 10 hours, but that's during a tornado outbreak or a hurricane. That's a little easier to do than a 90-minute talk show. Bill Murray is flying somewhere to some prune pageant or shuffleboard convention somewhere. Aubrey said she might be able to drop in for just a little bit. Kevin is here. Kevin, I'm glad you're here, buddy. Me and you, pal. And we can't hear Kevin. He's waving at us. No audio from you? No, he's staying standby.
That is the universal symbol for standby. Where are you? Did they put up a chroma key behind you? And no, that's a different mic stand too.
Yeah, I'm home. I'm not working this week, so we just decided to.
How long have you had this rig up?
I actually do a hit on the morning show on TV from the house.
Yeah.
So
that was set up then.
Yeah, this key wall's been back here for about. We've been in the house for about a year and 2 months, and I just don't stop, and with TV and all that, and my wife was so kind to let me paint the wall green.
Oh, you painted your own wall? It's not like a screen?
No, the wall. In fact,
wow.
Here, let me see if I can take it out. Hang on here.
Do you have some TriCaster kind of a thing, or you're doing it through the computer?
I am using Wirecast, which is a piece of software kind of like TriCaster. It's similar to that. There you go. Let's see here. That's it. Lovely wall back there, huh?
Wow.
So I'm thankful to have a very understanding wife, because most wives will not let their husbands paint their office wall puke green.
Well, here you can take a screen grab of this and put it behind you. Wait a minute. There. You know what this is?
No.
A viewer said, I posted some lightning pictures the other day, and a viewer commented, one of the comments was, do you mind if I paint it? And I was like, oh, I think that would be great. And then she gave it to me.
Really?
It's a painting of one of my lightning photos.
That is slightly cool. Wow.
Yeah, so that's very nice. And she included a note. This will be hard to see, but this is a picture of her husband watching me on television during severe weather coverage. And I guess there was a tornado warning. and he couldn't find a helmet, so he's wearing a welding mask.
That's awesome.
And I'll have to tell this story when we get into the show, because wearing a welding mask is now the show title.
That's fantastic. Wow. Rick, how are you, sir?
Hey, good evening. How are you guys doing?
Good. Looks like we're going to be missing. I think Brian is working my shift. Now, here's the question. So if I'm working that shift down there and I can do this show, why can't our friend Brian just pop in? I'm the guy pressing all the buttons, and all he's got to do is just pop in there. I mean, he's got the lights, he's got the mic set up. You just go for it, man. But I guess he's too busy for us. And Damon, Lane, can you hear us? Damon is in the dark over there at Channel 5, Rick, and he can't hear a word we're saying, and we can't hear a word he's saying, which is not a good thing.
Wonder what's up with that.
Rick, I certainly enjoyed our visit the other day. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming up. That was too short, but it was. I'm glad you got to come up.
It was very substantive.
Yep.
And I moved forward.
Good. Excellent.
And the other party is thrilled to know that.
Awesome. I love talking in these cryptic terms.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious I'm not in the loop here, so I'm not even going to ask.
Can you go in the other room for a minute?
Yeah. That thing you know that only you and I know about? Yeah. James, are you in a different room, or you just have a different backdrop? Or
I'm home. I'm not working this week, and I'm just here. And
cool.
We thought about trying to do an extra one last week, and it just got too confusing. So we just decided to go on the regular schedule from the house here. You
need to give us a better background than some fuzzy picture of the set that's not even your set. Is that actually y'all's set?
Yes, that's our set. That's where I work back here.
Oh, it's much lighter blue than I thought. I mean, a lot of light blue than I thought. But yeah, we need something better than that. You don't want work.
That's true. What can I put back there?
This guy gets
what I'll do, I'm going to scroll through my sunset pictures out of
this. Is what I'm saying. You get 1.75 million photos a day on Twitter, and here's this opportunity, and you give us a crummy picture of your set.
Well, it's the one that comes up by default. I mean,
what is wrong with you?
I obviously have a problem. Let's see here. Let's take that out, and I'll stick one in. A lot of beach. I get a lot of beach pictures this time of the year because half of my state, they all happen to be at the beach, and except me.
What do they call it down there? The Redneck Riviera.
Redneck Riviera. Yes.
Is that it? Yeah.
And some go to Florida. Here's one that just came in. How about that? I'm at the beach.
No, that's boring.
Come on, man. What's the matter with you?
Look, I can find a picture in your Twitter feed in 3 seconds. Oh, here comes Brian.
Well, Brian's going to make it. See,
now this is going to mess up everything because he's in front of your regular background.
Yeah.
This is like crossing this. This is like crossing the streams.
Worlds colliding or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Brian's got my background.
Hi, Brian. We can't hear you.
Oh, Brian. It's going to be a fun show. We can't hear Damon, our guest, and we can't hear Brian. We're hearing audio from Damon's channel, but I don't...
different mic or something.
Yeah, and I've tried to talk with him, and I can't hear him. How about this? Here's a lake sunset. Is that any better?
I had gone off. Wait a minute. That's a little better. I'm going to get you a picture.
Great.
An appropriate picture.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, but it's very echoey. You're not on the right. You're not on the right mic.
It's the best you're going to get tonight, so I will be quiet.
You can't use that big mic.
It's not bad. I just figured you were on the onboard mic on the computer or something.
You can't use that big mic in there, Brian?
I can
Got
try.
a big old PR40 mic in there. And Aubrey's here. Yeah, so everything's backwards. So Brian's working at the TV station. I'm home. Typically, Brian is home, and I'm working at the TV station.
What's it called, James? Duet?
It's like duet. The audio interface is a duet something.
That sound any better?
Nope.
No, we haven't haven't changed the mic source yet there.
Well, qualify that remark just a little bit, please.
In the Hangout settings.
Yes, I know. It's changed on my computer, but it hasn't changed on the Hangout yet.
Oh.
And if Damon's not on here, I don't think we have any guests. So it's
Okay,
going to be James.
I sent you your picture.
But email or?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Stand by here. We'll stick that. Oh, ooh. So you took that, huh?
Yes.
You must have listened carefully. Ben, did you see that video our buddy did?
Oh, my gosh.
Wow. That was just like unbelievable.
That was like a full semester of a college thunderstorm structure course.
I just sit there and watch that over and over like
Apparently
a village idiot. It was so good.
The village idiot.
Yeah. That's another show title right there. Like the village.
We have the show title already, Brian. There we go.
So now I have lightning behind me. We are illuminated by lightning. Ah! So Brian is coming back, and it is 8:30 Central Time, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to WeatherBrains. For those watching on the television side, this is the pre-show, that time of the show where we share boring stories, humorous anecdotes, and occasionally say outrageous things. We're about to start the show here in just a moment. Hey, Damon, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Bingo.
All right. Sorry about that. We have a new studio being built, and they totally changed everything in the station.
Hey, man, that's cool. We'll get you in and out by 9 Central. We know you got to go. What you got? You got a Fox show there? Or
Me TV. We're on Me TV.
Oh,
now.
Me. Okay, Me TV. I got you. All right. Well, yeah. Well, let's get this sucker rolling here. Since we have limited time with our celebrity guests, here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, this is WeatherBrains episode number 602. This is the weekly show all about weather. This is for July 31st, 2017. We argued and fussed about dog days last week. We can clearly say we are now in the dog days of summer. Thanks for taking the time to watch and or listen this week. And we've got Bill Murray, who typically does our interview segment. He is flying to some prune pageant or shuffleboard competition this evening. So we're going to just kind of bring in our guest right away. And Rick Smith, I'll kind of let you introduce Damon, since you're kind of in the same market there, if you don't mind.
Okay, we're happy to have Damon on this evening. Damon got one of his bachelor's degrees at UNC Asheville, the Meteorology and Atmospheric Sciences. I think he worked with Nate at KTXS, that's hard to say, in Abilene, Texas, as chief meteorologist. And then you got to KOCO in 2009 and 2012. You became the chief when Rick Mitchell left. And you are also the only meteorologist I know of that has an air freshener. So tell us what the Damon Lane air freshener smells like.
Wow.
You know, I think it's supposed to be my natural scent. I didn't get to pick it out, but I think it's supposed to be pine, I believe. I don't know. It's you know, they didn't really tell me that they were going to be giving me an air freshener. All of a sudden, they just popped up in the promotions office and said, hey, hand these out. So, Rick, if you need any more, I'll send them down to Norman to you.
They're very popular with my daughter. So
I'm,
yeah,
I'm going to submit an early show title, Supposed to Be My Natural Scent.
It's a good one. So Damon, I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago, I saw lots of pictures on social media, you and lots of the team at the Heartland Emmys, and won an Emmy Award, right, for your May 9th, 2016 coverage?
Yeah, so it was for breaking news, which Oklahoma City competes a lot with Denver. And the way that Denver and Oklahoma City tell news is completely different. Denver does a lot of long format. They go into, more in depth. And, really in Oklahoma City, we're very fast with our stories. So to submit an Emmy for breaking news, which includes both news, weather, you name it, and to be able to take home a trophy, it's a big deal. So it was some good coverage that day for the Wynnewood tornado. I don't think I really remember who I was up against. I was shaking. My hands were clammy and sweaty during the ceremony. But yeah, we took home an Emmy, so it was fun. It was fun.
So what we're going to do here, we want to talk about, and I think we need to do this for a lot of markets around the country on the television side. We're going to talk about the Oklahoma City television market. Let me just say this. We did invite a lot of people that were just not able to get here tonight. Understand most people work nights, and it's a very tough time to do that. So, Damon, you're very kind to come on with us, and you've got to leave by 9 Central, 10 Eastern to go to another newscast you got to do. But first off, for you, when you got to Oklahoma City, what was it like moving into that intensely active weather market there?
Yeah, so before I came here, I was actually in West Texas, in Abilene, Texas, and I heard a lot of people kind of chatter about OKC and just how intense this market is. When I first got here back in 2009, I really had no idea what I was really getting into. I went into what you would say, and I would call it an observation mode for the first 4 seasons, the first year. I came in here, I kind of observed, I watched what people do, and really kind of just watched Rick Mitchell, who was the chief here, how he told weather stories. How the other chiefs in this market were telling weather stories and how they were presenting weather information to the viewers. And it was not what I grew up watching. I grew up outside of Washington, D.C., so to watch weather coverage on the East Coast and then coming out here, it was completely different. And there is no way to describe it other than just having to watch it.
So when you got there, I guess you were up against Gary England on Channel 9, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Mike Morgan was on Channel 4. Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to kind of get into a mode there where people started to recognize you and start to learn who you are and watch what you do, since those guys have been established for a while there?
Yeah, no kidding. So I had been here for about 3 years before I became chief. It took a little while. Especially when you have, guys like Mike and Gary who are very well pronounced in this market. But about 4 or 5 months after I became chief is when we had the Moore tornado. And so it was that event. It didn't take long. Hearing it, hey, I think one of the meteor. And so it didn't take long. Certainly going up against those guys, and they're very much established in this market. Great meteorologists. It took a lot, and I look back now. I was only able to go up against Gary for 1 year before they made a switch down over at KWTV and brought in another chief meteorologist and David Payne. But it was it took a while, but since this weather market has gone through so many changes really in the last couple of years, we have seen more changes when it comes to chief meteorologists in this market in the last 3 to 4 years, and I think this market has ever seen. That people are doing a lot of channel surfing. They're doing a lot of flipping around. So I feel like, and from what I've been told, I'm being kind of heard about a little bit more frequently than I think had Gary still remained. Mike is still there. So this market's changing fast. It's a fast moving market, but I don't think it's been that long. But I hate to say this, but I think the Moore tornado kind of helped get my name out there a little bit faster.
So, how would you describe your style, Damon, in terms of doing severe weather coverage?
Oh gosh, my style. I don't even know if there's a name for my style. I would say, you have to be aggressive. In this market, if you're not aggressive, you're gonna fall behind. The previous chiefs in this market and that have been here for decades and decades, they conditioned the viewers to expect a certain type of weather information, certain types of weather information on storm days. We've kind of made this weather market very unique, and putting storm chasers so up close to tornadoes, flying helicopters. It's difficult out here to determine the difference between a slight risk and a high risk day. Both, high risk and slight risk days are almost handled the same out here. So I would say my weather style is aggressive. And I remember, James, watching you a while back. It was during the Alabama tornado outbreak that y'all had. I think it was back in 2011. And I remember watching you, and you were detailing these barbecue joints on the corner of Road A and Road B. And I remember saying, I like that. I like what that guy's doing. So I've tried to do that hyper local, James Spann type ish presentation, but I would say it's just a little bit of watching you and watching others who have been in television for a very long time. For those that have been in this business for a long time, you can learn a lot from them, because there aren't many people that can usually handle this business for a very long time. So watching them and just kind of bringing on your own chance.
Okay, so kind of go through a typical tornado day. How do you process all this information? You got all these, chasers with these live streams. You've got the helicopter live stream. You've got your TV personnel out in the field. How do you process all that information and become a cohesive on-air person? Because that's hard. People don't understand how hard that is. What's your trick?
And tell us before that, set us up in the weather center on a medium to big day. How many people are in there, and what are the assets, and then how do you process them? I think he's frozen.
Yeah, I think Damon had some bandwidth issues out there. A lot of times when you have to move out of one place and go to another place, he had some bandwidth issues. But I'd love to hear the answer to this, because they are Oklahoma City. Rick Smith, you obviously know that that's a very aggressive, as Damon said, a very aggressive weather market. Mm-hmm. And let me just bring in Rick. I would assume that at the Weather Service, you are monitoring to some degree all these TV stations. How do you use the television coverage at the Weather Service in Norman there?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a monitor that's kind of in our operations area that has a 4-panel display of all the Oklahoma City stations. So we're always constantly monitoring that just to get news information. If there's a train derailment or some type of incident that we might need to provide support for during severe weather, during a medium to high end event, we'll assign somebody to monitor the TV stations. We used to just broadcast the audio throughout the operations area. Now we have someone monitoring. Usually it's me and maybe the MIC in the office are monitoring, and we'll say, okay, I'll do 4 and 5, you do 9 or whatever. And we don't broadcast the audio throughout the operations area. We just listen and pass along any pertinent information to the warning forecaster. So we're watching Damon and Shelby and Michael and Jonathan and everybody at Channel 5 and all the other Oklahoma City stations constantly during severe weather.
We got Damon back. So Kevin, ask your question to Damon.
Well, yeah, Damon, before you answer James' question, I thought it might be helpful for you to set us up in the Weather Center on a medium or large day and tell us who's there, how many people, what are the assets, and then how you process them.
Yeah, and I hope I don't lose my internet connection again, so my apologies on that one. So severe weather day, we will have one meteorologist who is going to be working with the crews that day, our storm chasers, and our helicopter pilot. We will have another meteorologist working the radar helm, and then myself, who will be on the chroma key. So myself, Jonathan Condor, and then Shelby Hayes working with the crews. And then we now have a dedicated field meteorologist, Michael Armstrong, who will be out in the field, as well as about 4 or 5 other storm chasers. So it takes a minimum of 3 meteorologists in studio and then out in the field. If it's a slight risk day, we will usually start with about, at least 4 or 5 or 6 storm chasers, just because we have a large area to cover. And then we scale back. It's always easier to scale back than to try to ramp up your coverage. There have been many days where, you expect your big days to be the ones where you need a lot of people, then your slight risk days or your lower end days where you say, I think we can handle it with just a few. And sometimes it's our slight risk days that turn out to be the biggest days. So we'll start with a lot of people and then scale back.
So you're on the wall. Mm-hmm. And you're the quarterback. You are the guy in charge of all of this. How do you process all this information coming in from a professional meteorologist, from the helicopter, from the people in the field? How do you process all this stuff in real time while you're communicating to the public?
It takes having a good team behind you. And a lot of, Jonathan has been in this market for a long time. He started over at K4. Shelby interned over at Channel 9 under Gary England. So we all kind of go in with this idea of, okay, these are our expectations. We had this plan here where we say, plan your work and then work your plan. So we will have a plan for a bunch of different scenarios. But we all pretty much know going into the event, through a detailed plan that's set up days in advance or even the day of, what we are to do. And then really, the storms just kind of are the icing on the cake. For Oklahomans and for really here at KOCO, we've done this for a while now, that, it's almost like riding a bike. You just, when the watch is about to go up, you're going on, as long as you don't have any tornado warnings, usually during cut-ins, and then you start kind of getting that feeling of, okay, we're about to see these storms kind of tick up. We're probably going to have a tornado warning issued pretty soon, and at that point, through detailed emails, through talking to managers, to production, to engineers, we will pretty much know when it's time to go into extended coverage. And then really it's just me saying, hey, we're going to go wall to wall now, and everyone knows what to do. So it's not something that you can just step into the day of and say,
but
that's what we do.
Yeah, Damon, we're starting to lose you again with the bandwidth out there. I wanted to ask if you can hear me. How do you handle tornado warnings for rural counties in your DMA in, say, prime time? Do you interrupt and stay on the air for them, or how do you handle it? Is every county treated the same when it comes to tornado coverage there?
Hey, say that to adjust my bandwidth over here and.
Yeah, you might want to turn your camera off. More people listen to the show, so if we don't have the video, that's okay. That might help save some of the bandwidth.
Okay. All right. So say that again.
Yeah, Damon, I was just asking, how do you handle rural counties? Do you have the same tornado coverage policy for a county that's 80 miles away as opposed to the counties right there in the metro, say in primetime television?
Yeah, of course. It's so yes, and then no. I know that's kind of a horrible answer to say. So here's the yes. If we know that a tornado is headed into even a small community, we will go wall to wall. This past spring, we were going wall to wall with tornadoes that were out in the Texas Panhandle that were going into Oklahoma, because we knew that looking at some of the data coming in, the HER, what have you, that we knew that these storms were likely to impact some towns, some communities. Now, there have been some days, however, where you might have a tornado warning that literally has a population of 0 in it. It might clip Oklahoma. It might kind of be in that zone where there's Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas in there. If we do see a town or community in it, yes, we will treat it just the same as any other area. But otherwise, there are a lot of places out here where we don't we don't have people. Now, it is rare that there's a tornado warning ongoing, and we are not going to be wall to wall. Some of the newer methods that we've been experimenting with here is pushing our coverage over to digital channels, pushing it over to Facebook, over to the app, making sure that we can still get that message out. But last year, it was our southern fringe of our DMA that was getting hit by tornadoes. We were wall to wall. On Easter this past year, at Easter we had a couple quick spin up tornadoes over some rural counties, but we stayed on for those. So we do. Make sure that we treat them all, give them all equal weight up front, and do our best. Like I said, there might be a zone or two where a tornado warning pops into where literally there's no population. It's rare, but it's also, there have been days where we've gone wall to wall on tornado warnings over, counties that are going to be, maybe 100 or 200 people deep. And we hear the complaints from Oklahoma City where they'll say, look, these storms aren't affecting us, get off. And then sometimes there'll be tornado warnings ongoing across Oklahoma City where the people that are going to be in those rural counties say, get off our television. May 20th, 2013 is a prime example where it was the Moore tornado. It was about 2 hours after the tornado had ended. And we had people in rural parts of Oklahoma that said, we're missing Ellen. Get off our television right now. So, it's more often than not, we are carrying the rural counties the same as any other county.
Well, yeah, I'll deal with those haters. You have to learn to do with that. How would you describe the working relationship with the other television meteorologists in the market?
That's a great question. James. I remember tweeting out to Gary England right when he was getting ready to retire, and I said, we're only competitors when the red light is on. Wish you all the best in your in your next chapter of your life. And I remember some people tweeting at me and saying, what are you doing? Why would you do such a thing? Don't tweet at the competitor. And to me, I'll say hi to any of the meteorologists, when I see them out, give them a congratulations if they win an award and we're at the same banquet. To me, I have no problem with it. I think others, might say, don't acknowledge them or what have you. It's kind of silly if you ask me sometimes, but if I saw any of these guys out, I buy them a drink, buy them dinner. Maybe I'm a nice guy.
There you go. And I know you got to go in a few minutes, but there are some that say, and not you, but the market in general, at times there's too much hyperbole coming out of there during tornado activity and severe weather. How would you respond to that?
I would say our weather is crazy enough and wild enough that I don't think it needs any hype. I think for some though, research has shown in this market that there will be some people that say, the weather guys are going at it again today. They're making a big deal about nothing. But some of the wildest and craziest things that usually happen with weather happen in this market. And, and so really, the weather dictates, just how bad it is, and like I said, sometimes our weather is bad enough as it is that it doesn't need any, pumping up. But at the same time, there will be people that will say, you didn't tell me that the storms were going to be this bad. For us in the meteorological world, 60-mile-per-hour winds and a severe thunderstorm, that's strong, but sometimes we can see that on a sunny day out here in Oklahoma. But other times, those 60-mile-an-hour winds are going to really rough up someone. 65, 70-mile-an-hour winds might rough up someone's day as well. And so for me, I just I don't think that the hype is what people think it is. I've never hyped up any forecasts. If I hype up a forecast, it means that I'm having to come in and work on a day that I probably didn't have to come into work, or it means that the station is losing money because, we're covering up commercials, or I'm spending less time with my family. So, to me, I've never hyped up a storm. I'm not really inside the brains of the other meteorologists in this market, but this market lives and expects weather coverage, and it's kind of what we provide them. And, it's when you look at the ratings and the people that are tuning into weather coverage, even when we hear people saying, oh, you guys are hyping it up, the ratings are off the chart. I mean, we will see more people watching weather coverage on a slight risk day or a high risk day than those that watch the Super Bowl. And so I really think that people just out here, they just say, you know what? We've seen big tornadoes on slight risk days. It might happen today. So we're gonna watch the weather coverage. I don't know. I guess I'm talking my way around in a couple circles here, but
hey, Damon.
Yeah.
Do you have enough time to jump over to social media for a minute and tell us what you guys do there? And James and I go back and forth on this show about, one of my main points is I'm terribly worried about time sensitive information going out through Facebook and how it leaks out to people, and how we've sort of trained people to come to social media when it's not necessarily a reliable source. You want to tell us what you all do and maybe comment on those things?
Yeah, we've kind of gone back and forth on how to handle social media on storm days. There was a phase when we were handing over our social media accounts over to our web manager, and they wanted to tweet out and kind of do a play-by-play. And we just didn't find that was probably the best practice because of those time-sensitive things. Really nowadays, I mean, social media, especially in the last year, has really changed in a big way for us. I mean, now with Facebook Lives, they'll just say, hey, let's just run, the coverage over on your Facebook page and Facebook Live, and we'll just handle it that way. Twitter's a little different. Twitter, it's really us doing the tweeting. Unfortunately, I would say when it comes to Twitter probably gets a little less love on storm days than Facebook does. From our web team here. But really nowadays we're just kind of pushing the whole live element out on Facebook and just letting it run.
Damon, do you see a time where all the stations in Oklahoma City will issue their own tornado warnings independent of the National Weather Service?
Oh, dear Lord. I hope not. I hope not, times a million. If we get to that right there is going to be bad, because the message is already hard enough to understand on storm days, that when you start issuing your own tornado warnings, that's just silly, because then all of a sudden you're going to have emergency managers who still sound the outdoor warning systems out here, the sirens. Then you're going to have them confused. So I hope not. I personally, being the head of this weather department out here, will never get to that point at all. I'm not going to allow that.
And again, that's one of my concerns, and we're starting to see it. And again, we're not here to point fingers, because part of the problem is that sometimes you're mandated to do things from some entity above you, some supervisor, some corporate, goober, and but Hearst has not put any pressure on you to issue your own warning so far.
Absolutely not.
Okay, that's good to know. Talk about the stress of this job. After doing it for a number of years, how stressful is it being a chief meteorologist in Oklahoma City?
It is stressful. Part of the stress, though, is that, or part of, I guess, what you would say is that helps take away the stress, is making sure that your family understands what is expected of you. My wife used to work in this market. She knows that from March 15th to June 15th, she's pretty much going to become a weather widow, where she might see me, or she might not see me for a long time. It's very stressful. But at the same time, though, those are the things that I knew coming into this market back in 2009. I've seen this market take, well-established meteorologists in other markets, and they come here and they just say, I'm done with TV. You really have to know what you're getting yourself into when you walk into this market. If you don't, you're not going to last that long. But I knew what was coming in, what was expected of me coming into this. My wife knew what was expected of me. And so when you have a support system like that, it makes it a lot easier.
And one more thing, I know you got to go.
Yep.
Winter storms, ice storms. How crazy are those there?
We might be able to forecast severe weather decently out here. We struggle a lot with ice storms. As this DMA is, there are many times when you're battling 1 or 2 degrees, and that can make a world of difference. This past year, remember, we had an ice storm or a freezing rain event where we were expecting a ton of ice. What had happened was that there was a good amount of warm air aloft, and as long as it kept raining, it was warming up the rain, and you just kept having warm rain falling on top of each other, that it was preventing it from freezing. And so we didn't start seeing ice until long after the event was over, and at that point, a lot of it had started to dry up. Freezing rain out here, winter weather. After a while, you just curse it and just say, I am done with winter.
I hear you. Well, Damon, it's coming up on the top of the hour. Thanks so much for doing this. You didn't have to do it, but you're busy, but we appreciate the time. It's a fascinating weather market, and we appreciate the job that you do. I've watched you do severe weather many, many times. You're level-headed. You're just cool and urgent when you need to be urgent, and you're not when you don't need to be. So thanks for your style, and thanks for coming on the show this week. We sure appreciate it.
James, thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Okay, Damon, good luck on the newscast here. We'll talk to you later. That is Damon Lane, the chief meteorologist for Channel 5 in Oklahoma City. And Rick, let me kind of go back to you since you're on the other side of the fence. And again, look, it would be nice to have all 3 chiefs on the show, Mike Morgan and David Payne, but we just couldn't make that happen. But I appreciated Damon coming on the show. How would you and I know, Rick, you can only say so, you're in a very hard position because you've got to be everybody's friend and you're working with everybody. But how is it for you working with these broadcasters, this intensely, busy severe weather market there?
Well, it's one of the more interesting parts of my job and the offices, what we do. We get to work with not only the Oklahoma City market, but also the Lawton, Wichita Falls market where Kevin is, and then a couple of stations down in the Sherman, Denison, Texas area. Oklahoma City is different than all of those, though. So we work very hard to maintain those relationships, to understand what each of the stations is doing and try to understand why they're doing it, and we try mostly just to keep the lines of communication open. We have an open door policy in our office at any time. Any meteorologist, any TV meteorologist is welcome to come and visit. We do job shadows. Damon and just about his whole staff has been out and done job shadows with us. He's also invited us to come to their station. So several of us have gone to spend the afternoon and evening with him to watch what they do on the other side of things. And that really helps. But honestly, it's one of the more stressful parts of the job on occasions, because as we always talk about, sometimes it's easier to predict the weather than it is people. And that also goes for everybody who's out there giving a weather message, whether it's TV meteorologist or social meteorologist or whatever.
Yeah, and again, it is just, Oklahoma City is very unique in many different ways. How is participation in National Weather Service chat in the market? Are most of the television stations on there with you during active weather on the chat session?
Yeah, all the TV stations that we work with, whatever market they're in, are on there, including all the Oklahoma City TV stations. And one of the cool things that I get, since I monitor the audio of the television almost continuously during any severe weather event, whatever station it happens to be, I know that they're using the chats because I can hear. I'll type something in chat, or someone will type something in chat, and it's not the guy on the wall. It's not Damon maybe, but maybe it's Shelby or Jonathan or somebody off to the side that's reading that information to them over the chat and relaying that information. So the participation has really increased over the past couple of years. After the 2013 tornadoes, we saw that maybe there were some gaps there maybe that we needed to fill with communication. So we started doing lots of things, and we really just started to ramp up the NWS chat game. And we try to just provide a continuous stream of information, whether they say thank you, whether they acknowledge it, whether they ever use it. It's there if anybody wants to use it. And a lot of what we put in NWS chat, lot of what I put in NWS chat is geared toward the TV meteorologist, because not everybody has a staff of 5 meteorologists who can be there and looking at things. Nobody has time to do weather analysis. So anything we can provide to fill in the gaps helps. And I think we've seen participation grow, not only people logging in, but also people giving us reports back. We've seen a real increase in just about all the stations in Oklahoma City actually submitting reports through chat, which was unheard of just a few years ago.
And I think people don't understand also the fact that in addition to that, you can go straight to the people through these social media channels. And that's got to be so stressful, because here you are keeping up Weather Service chat where you're dealing with emergency managers and broadcasters. And then you've got to, manage these social media platforms too. And you've done a marvelous job with that. And I know you don't have enough people, Rick. I know you don't have enough people.
No, we really don't. And even an office like ours that maybe has 1 or 2 more people than most weather service offices, that it's still not enough. And we were just talking in a staff meeting over the past couple of weeks that it really is too much for one person to do all the chat and then try to do the social media, whether you're monitoring or whether you're sending information out. So we're always looking for efficiencies and ways to maximize what we can do, because that's you do that for a couple hours and your brain just turns to mush after a while. You're listening to TV in one ear and listening to the warning forecasters and putting stuff in chat and then tweeting and posting in Facebook and answering questions. And I love my job. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's a lot. It's a lot for one person to do.
Let's bring in Brian Peters. But Brian, we haven't even gotten to you. Brian is the internationally beloved meteorologist who is, we've swapped locations, Brian. I'm home, you're at work. So
yes, and I'm on an internal microphone, so probably it's best not to have me talk a whole lot tonight.
It sounds better than most of the guests we have on here. It sounds really good.
Okay.
So you have been at this from both sides. You have worked Rick's side of the fence, and you have worked our side of the fence. What's your perspective on this? And of course, I know you've been away from the Weather Service for a while now, but there are challenges on both sides that people don't understand. They're both pretty difficult positions on tornado days.
Yes, absolutely. I think I could sum it up in one word, and Rick has actually said this word already, and that is the communication. Just being able to go visit each other is a line of communication that in most markets has not in the past been open. I think almost all National Weather Service offices over the last 20 years or so have really done much more work in trying to communicate with, as you say, the other side of the fence. And this willingness to communicate from the Weather Service to the media has encouraged them to talk back to the Weather Service. I know here in Birmingham, I was always available to do interviews or whatever anybody from the media wanted to do. But it really is nice when the meteorologist can swap positions a little bit and see how the other guy works. And this communication and the chat, I think, is really playing into that too. I think that is really the key, is trying to keep that a two-way street.
And let me just say this too. I'm kind of burdened. I see more and more hostility within the weather enterprise. Yeah. And I don't know if it has to do with the political environment in the country these days. If it I don't understand it, but I know it's in Oklahoma City, and Rick doesn't want to talk about it, and he really can't. It's basically everywhere, but now people just want to jump on everybody else. The meteorologist at the TV station, sometimes they want to jump on the Weather Service and vice versa. And they might not do it publicly, but sometimes they do it privately. And it's okay to question. Look, I love for people to question me. That's the only way I'll get better is constructive criticism. But some of the hostility has just gotten brutal. And somehow we're going to have to learn to get along as we move forward. And if we are a divided weather enterprise, we're not going to be very effective. And these divisions are starting to pop up where TV stations are issuing their own warnings. And Damon doesn't want to talk about it. He's not going to talk about it, but there's some that are. I've seen it. And Damon made the point that this is just going to ruin the whole thing. And somehow we've got to learn to get along. And I think these IWT meetings that we do where we're face-to-face, That's marvelous. It's really high. It's easy. It's easy to sit on your keyboard when there's no camera on you and just bash somebody. Even if your name's on it, it's easy to do that. But when you look somebody in the eyes at a conference, at a meeting, it is a whole lot harder to do that. And so I wish we could just get in the room together more often. And I know Rick can't talk about it, but it's a challenge to do that out there. A lot of people just won't. So
yeah, it is. But we've had successes. I mean, for years, ever since I got here, I was like, I want to get everybody together. I want to have these workshops and meetings. And then, it's like, well, they'll never come. Nobody, we can't get everybody together. But at one point we just said, screw it, let's try it and see what happens. Honestly, I'll be open and blunt there, but that's what it was. And we had a series of media workshops. We really need to start them back up. But Damon came, and there was somebody from all the stations there. Wasn't necessarily all the chiefs, but it was people from every station. And the more we talk and the more we get to understand their world and the more they get to understand our world, we really are all in the same boat with this. TV meteorologists have a different style and a different way of getting to the end goal maybe, but we're in the same boat. The winter forecasting sucks for National Weather Service forecasters here and for the TV meteorologists. And the more we can work together and learn from each other, the better it is. And we've made progress. Is it perfect? No. Do things still happen that we would rather not see happen on the air? Sure. I mean, that's, to be honest, yeah, of course. But we're making progress. And what we tell our staff all the time is it's baby steps. It's every small victories. And we're not in a war or anything. I don't mean victory that way, but I mean progress. So just the fact that we have more chat participation, just the fact that we're able to get together. And we had an IWT meeting back a few weeks ago, and we actually had somebody from just about every TV station that we serve, including 3 of the 4 Oklahoma City TV stations, that sat on a panel, and really eye-opening, really enlightening, really honest, open conversation with about 100 people there. So we're, it's slow but steady wins the race, hopefully.
Yeah, we're all in it together. And if we realize that, maybe we'll have some compassion on each other. One of the things we're doing here, which I don't think anybody else is doing, we have a special chat session just for the chief meteorologist at the TV stations, the WCM, the SU, and the MIC at the local weather service office. And that's all that's invited. And as you say, Rick, we suck at it too. Winter storm forecasting, ice storm forecasting down here in the deep south. Parts of your market might be in a crippling ice storm. Parts of the market is just raining, and trying to identify that in advance is almost impossible to do. But before high impact events, whether it's a winter storm, snow, ice, a flood event, a tornado event, a tropical event, we have the opportunity to gather together early in the day. This is, like I say, early in the day, early in the afternoon. It's about typically 1 o'clock when we get together and we exchange ideas. And it's marvelous. This is not the weather service telling us what we're going to have to say, and it's not us telling the weather service what they have to say. We simply exchange ideas in an open, honest way with the spirit of humility. And that's been a marvelous thing. And I wish more and more markets would do that. And we certainly appreciate that, because that gives us the chance to share our concerns with the Weather Service, because you are the ones that do issue advisories and watches and warnings. And, it's really a good thing. So I'm encouraged, on one hand, but on the other hand, I see the whole thing going down the tubes with all these consultant goobs and corporate people that are dictating, well, we're going to issue our own warnings. We know more than anybody else. And everybody's going to do their own thing. And that's my concern, is to get that horse back in the barn. And I talk about it too much probably, but I'm telling you that the day is coming. I see that day coming. And we really need to stop that. So, but
hey, James.
Yes.
You talked about the kind of the contentious atmosphere that's out there and this adversarial thing that goes on. One of the interesting things that we really didn't realize until we really started talking with each other more directly. Our office is kind of unique. The Birmingham office is kind of in a building out by itself. Most weather service offices are in a little isolated building out by itself. We're sitting in the National Weather Center, with 500 and something other meteorologists, from students and PhDs and researchers, and lots of very intelligent, super intelligent, opinionated people. And a lot of times they are not as, how do I say, diplomatic or tactful in their commentary on what they're seeing maybe on the local media as we are. It's shocking, I know, but what happens is,
Chuck,
we get lumped in with that. So the TV meteorologists see the people at the National Weather Center, or whatever they're saying, and it's really, I'm really trying to say that's not us. They're talking bad about us too. They do that to us. They criticize our polygon. It's like I said before, we're all in the same boat. We're all on, we all are on the same team, whether we're wearing the same jerseys or not, or we may run different plays from time to time, but the goal line is still the same for all of us. So but there's challenges.
Rick, I have to say that James is right. When stations start issuing their own warnings, they're not on the same page, because that to me is putting out there an element of different kind of risk. A kind of risk that people won't act because they hear two different stories. And that's scary to me. I mean, believe me, I've been on the other side, at the Weather Service side. Issuing the warnings is stressful. It's hard to do when you're trying to really do a really good job and get the tornadoes and not put out false alarms. And on this side, it's also stressful because we don't have a lot of input into the decision making, but we're trying to communicate those. And just to think that if some television station in this market decided to start putting out their own warnings, I mean, good gosh, that adds an element of so much risk that it really just, it's scary. It's really hair raising to think about the possibilities if that happens.
Yeah, I was doing a little research today. I was just thinking about the show coming up, and I was looking through one of Gary England's books. I can't remember which. Well, it's right here. The Weathering the Storm: Tornadoes, Television, and Turmoil. And then he recounts a lot of the weather wars from the 70s and 80s and early 90s, where it was open warfare between the TV stations and the National Weather Service. We're in, rainbow land right now compared to what it used to be. But Gary England started issuing his own warnings totally independent of the National Weather Service in 1973 and continued that for some time. So while we are starting to see a resurgence in some areas that, people are doing this again, or we're noticing it more, it's not new. I mean, this is, in this market at least, it's been going on. Now, it didn't go on continuously. I think it was done for a while, then it kind of faded away, and then it's kind of popped back up here in the past couple of years. But it's an issue.
Well, yeah, I know, having worked in the regional office, I was involved in some of the little bit of controversy in the 70s about what was going on in Oklahoma City. Because as you say, it's not a new thing. I don't know. I guess my worry is there's so much more at stake with the number of people out there. After April 27th, 2011, and lose 252 citizens in this day and age with the technology and everything we had and the communications that we had, and still to lose that many people. I just, if you add that element of uncertainty to everybody else because there's multiple warnings, that just complicates everything. It's like, okay, the 252 is going to become 2,520 because people won't act.
There was a guy named Nash Roberts in New Orleans. He worked for WWL, the big blowtorch radio station, and Channel 4, the big TV station there. And I think he kind of issued his own hurricane warnings in products back in the 60s, and maybe into the 70s. And there's been a track record of that. And I think we're competitive. Everybody in this TV show is competitive. I want to win. I want to win I want to win the ratings. I want to be, I want to win. But at some point, that's got to be kind of put aside. And what you think, well, I'm going to get this winter storm forecast right and beat the Weather Service and beat the other guys in these TV stations. We're going to do this awesome promo about how we got it right. And they look, you start getting your ego up into that zone. What do you do when you have a big forecast bust? You're going to look like a total, fool. And so, we just have to put that aside and work for the common good. But Rick, I wanted to ask you, it is interesting being in your position out there at the National Weather Center. You've got all these PhDs and, all these brilliant people kind of breathing down your neck. Does that add pressure on that office that's maybe unlike any other Weather Service office?
Maybe in a way. I mean, I think now with social media and radar scope and, I don't think you need to be in that area to monitor and be an armchair meteorologist or armchair warning forecaster or whatever. And not all of that is bad. I mean, we do get some good constructive comments or criticism, good questions, and it's always good to learn. I mean, my gosh, we're in a building there with Chuck Doswell and Don Burgess and people you bump into in the hallway or wrote your textbook in college. It still freaks me out sometimes, quite honestly, but it's cool. So it's not all bad, but we do get that. And I don't know that we get it more than other offices because, like I said, people can get on Twitter and comment about the size of any office's polygons or make fun of the fact that there's 0 people in the warning or that polygon's too big or too small or it's jagged or it's shaped weird or whatever. It doesn't really bother us that much, but it's, we're people, we're people. You can take a lot of that. You can take a lot of the haters and the weird comments, but after a while it gets kind of old. But I don't know that it puts extra pressure on us versus any other Weather Service office, though.
Yeah, and kind of along those lines too, I wanted to ask when Facets becomes operational, do you become a test bed for these new warning systems, Rick, or how is that going to work?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we have the hazardous weather test bed where a lot of those early experiments are going on right next door to our office. So there's one glass door between us and the test bed. So that's where a lot of that is being developed. So the Norman forecast office typically does get to be a guinea pig and try new things out because we're right there. And it really is a good environment where we can have the researchers actually come into the operations area. So maybe I hope so. Certainly, we're Lance Rothfuss's office is just down the hall from mine and from the WFO, and I would imagine we would have some role in it. I certainly hope so.
Okay, well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break here. Aubrey, I hope she has time to do some email. We've not done an email segment in a while. We got some really good email. So what we're going to do is take a quick break. We're going to, and by the way, Brian had to go back. See, when I'm down there working, I slip away 2 minutes before the newscast begins. He slipped away 40 minutes before the newscast begins. What's up with that? But anyway, we're going to do Professor Peters. We're going to have Tony Rice. We'll come back with the Weather Roundup, the picks of the week, and much more as WeatherBrains rolls along.
WeatherBrains 101 with Professor Peters.
If you have been following the activity in the eastern North Pacific, you know that we had 3 active systems at one point last week. 2 of those storms were pretty close, so there was talk of them interacting under the premises of the Fujiwara Effect. So just what is that? The Fujiwara Effect or Fujiwara interaction is a type of interaction between 2 nearby cyclonic vortices, causing them to appear to orbit or rotate around each other. The effect is named after Sakaue Fujiwara, the Japanese meteorologist who initially described it in his 1921 paper about the motion of vortices in water. When 2 cyclones approach each other, their centers will begin orbiting cyclonically about a point between the 2 systems. The 2 vortices will be attracted to each other and eventually spiral into the center point and merge. When the 2 vortices are of unequal size, the larger vortex tends to dominate the interaction, and the smaller vortex will orbit around the larger one. The effect is often mentioned in relation to the motion of tropical cyclones, although final merging of the 2 storms is uncommon. The effect becomes pronounced in these storms when they approach within about 900 miles of each other and are at tropical storm strength or stronger. The busy 1995 Atlantic hurricane season included a few examples. During the height of the season, Hurricane Umberto and Hurricane Iris took part in a brief Fujiwara interaction. Iris then began interacting with the third storm, Tropical Storm Karen, which orbited and later merged with the more intense Iris. In the 1997 Pacific typhoon season, Ivan and Joan, a pair of super typhoons, interacted through the Fujiwara effect. This interaction steered Ivan to the west and Joan on a more northerly course. Each storm spinning and then storms spinning around storms. Gad, zooks, all this spinning has made me dizzy. If you have a question about the weather, drop an email to question@weatherbrains.com.
Looking beyond the atmosphere, here's Tony Rice with your Astronomy Outlook.
During a total solar eclipse, there's a number of events to look for. At first contact, or C1, the moon begins to cover the sun's western limb. That's the right side of the sun as we're observing from Earth. From this point until totality begins, you're going to need eye protection to view the eclipse safely. Over the next hour or so, the moon will obscure more and more of the sun as if eating away, creating a crescent sun. Stories passed down through native peoples worldwide have a similar theme, an animal eating the sun. Cherokee tell of a frog eating the sun. The Chinese blame a dragon. And in Scandinavia, it's wolves that chase the sun through the sky each day who finally caught up with it. Once about 80% of the sun is covered, about 15 minutes before totality, changes in the environment will become noticeable. Ambient light levels are lower, like at sunset, but the landscape takes on more of a blue-gray tone, very much unlike sunset. This is because the reds of the sunset aren't there, because light isn't traveling through any more atmosphere, especially with the 2017 total solar eclipse, which occurs pretty close to solar noon. As the moon continues to nibble away at the sun's disk, or photosphere, this is a good time to look around you. Birds and other animals may become quiet, bedding down for the night. Others may become anxious. Some plants and flowers may even close up. About 5 minutes before totality, look to the western horizon. It's going to look as if a large thunderstorm is approaching, darkening the landscape significantly. If you're lucky enough to be viewing from a hilltop, you may even be able to see the edge of the shadow approaching. Consider adding a solid white colored item, like a poster board, to your eclipse packing list. About 2 minutes before totality, look at that board. As the last rays of sunlight are refracted through our atmosphere, ripples become visible on that board, evidence of turbulent air rising and falling. About 15 seconds before totality, only the thinnest crescent sun is remaining, and the first evidence of the sun's corona, or outer atmosphere, becomes visible. Latin for crown, the corona is irregularly shaped and only visible during totality. About 5 to 10 seconds before totality, the last rays of sunlight from the photosphere merge into a brilliant point of light known as the diamond ring effect. Now, if you can take a second to look towards the western horizon, you'll see the shadow rushing towards you. About 3 seconds before totality, that diamond ring will fade into what's known as Bailey's beads. Along the left side of the moon, sunlight breaks through those valleys and craters of the moon's surface, forming points of light resembling dazzling jewels on a necklace. This was named for Francis Bailey, who first described the phenomenon back in 1836. At second contact, or C2, totality begins. Now you can safely remove your solar glasses from your eyes and your camera and your telescope if you have them. But be quick, because you'll have just a few seconds to look for the vivid red of the chromosphere, the gaseous layer below the corona and just above the photosphere. You might catch vibrant red prominences stretching into the corona. These prominences can be many times larger than Earth. If you miss it, don't worry, you'll have another chance on the right side of the moon, seconds before totality ends. Over the next 30 seconds to about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, depending on where you are laterally within that path of totality, you can observe the sun's corona extending out many solar diameters. Each eclipse is different. Sometimes the corona appears very round. Sometimes it's more jagged and wider at the equator. This is also a good time to observe the sun's magnetic influences. Look for loops and arcs tracing out those magnetic fields. Also look for planets and stars to appear. Venus and the bright star Regulus may appear right above the sun and moon. Also look for Mars, about 8 degrees to the right, been hidden for several weeks in the sun's glare, but makes a brief appearance during totality. As the right side of the moon begins to brighten, it's time to get those eclipse glasses back on. The end of totality, or C3, is seconds away, and the whole process reverses. So anything that you missed leading into totality, you'll have a chance to catch it again. Look down to the ground and you'll see the shadows speeding away eastward. Also watch for nature to pretty much return to normal. Those flowers will open up again and the birds and other animals will calm down. That's your astronomy outlook. Follow me at RTP Hokie for more spacey stuff like this.
Well, just maybe Aubrey's got some email for us to read this week.
Letters. We get letters. We get stacks and stacks of letters.
All right. Let's see if Aubrey is around. Aubrey? And maybe she's not around. Well, in that case, Aubrey said she was still in the show at this point. She still might be doing some television here. It's 27 after the hour. So the minute she comes back, we'll do some email. In the meantime, we'll do weather roundup here. And I guess the interesting thing, Rick Smith, we had a tropical storm develop overnight. When's the last time that happened? You go to bed with nothing and you wake up with a tropical storm in the Gulf of Mexico. Wow.
I think a lot of meteorologists, were like me, that was like, where in the world did that come from? It was just, there was something out there yesterday, and then this morning it was a tropical storm, and I guess it kind of made landfall near Tampa Bay and is moving on. I haven't kept up with it as much as I should today, but I think it's moving on over toward the Atlantic coast now.
Yeah, it's a depression, but it happens fairly often in a situation like that. We had a rare midsummer surface front that moved all the way through the Gulf Coast states and went into the Gulf of Mexico. Low dew points where we are. I mean, it has been feeling like fall here in the deep south along the Interstate 20 corridor for the past couple of days. We saw some spots with lows in the 50s. And when that happens, when you get this old front that stalls out in the Gulf, sometimes you wind up with a little low that forms, and those can flare quickly if the SSTs are warm. And the SSTs were extremely warm in the eastern Gulf. And so what happened last night, we went to bed with nothing. And you wake up and you've got a tropical storm that made landfall just south of the mouth of Tampa Bay this morning. And really it's more of a rain event. There was a few pockets of flooding and issues, but still that was the most interesting thing happening. And the Atlantic stays quiet. The Pacific stays active, especially the Western Pacific in terms of tropical activity. And did you guys get these low dew points, Rick? It's been marvelous here.
Well, lower, relatively speaking. I think they were in the mid 60s today versus the mid 70s, which was lovely. And some places didn't get out of the mid 80s, and tomorrow will be even cooler. I'm loving every minute of this this version of summer that we're getting this week for sure.
So, Kevin, I assume your weather's quiet as well.
Yeah, just a couple spotty showers, but yeah, Rick's right about the temperatures. I mean, we only did 91 today. The average high here is 98, and I think I have 81 for tomorrow, given some showers probably midday. So that's exciting here for what would be August 1st.
Awesome. And Aubrey, you're back. I bet you've been feeling pretty good up there, huh?
Hi. I was just looking over the weekend. Our overnight low Saturday night was 53.
Wow.
It was beautiful. And we actually laid out last night. We had a bonfire and laid outside. It was clear and caught the stars and ended up catching a bunch of meteors last night. So
wow,
that was really nice.
You use a baseball glove to catch meteors, or?
I did. Actually, one of them, I was like, oh no, it's a firefly. And everyone's like, no, that was a meteor.
All right. Well, let's, now that Aubrey is here, I can officially roll the email music because just maybe she's got an email or two to read here.
Letters. We get letters. We get stacks and stacks of letters.
Where do I start?
At the very beginning.
So long.
Like in April, maybe?
I know, right? I'm sorry, guys. It has been so long. Well, we might just want to start with, let's see. This one. We'll start right here from Michelle. And then if I have to go back, I will. Michelle Lynn Westmoreland, who sent in a listener survey response from hometown is Yukon, Oklahoma. Found the show on YouTube. Let's see. They had an issue on July 3rd in Oklahoma in which an outdoor venue was, shall I say, slow in getting people to safety during a severe thunderstorm warning. Apparently, this is still an issue here, and I think it would make a great show. And Michelle is also a trained storm spotter through the National Weather Service. So that sounds like that would be a good show. We have another one from Alfred Allen from Huntsville, Alabama. And Alfred says, I love JB Elliott. He made me laugh so much. I just went and looked him up yesterday and read about him. Saw he passed away. It made me extremely sad. So also thinking about JB. So thanks for sending that in. And of course, JB was always hilarious. Let's see. Max sent in a listener survey response from Plainview, Texas. Stumbled across the show and has been a fan ever since. Sent in a bunch of different articles about Steve Gottschalk from Loudon, Iowa, who appears to be somewhat of an expert on weather folklore. Do not know him, but listened to episode 225 with Dick Goddard and was reminded of the article. So that might be interesting on some weather folklore. And let's see, we have... this one. So this is from Jacob Dickey. Wanted to share a cool nonprofit I found called Weather in the Classroom. Nonprofit is designed to bring local meteorologists, communities, and schools to help with weather preparedness. Has anyone, let's see, it looks like he had a meeting with James and Megan in June about the organization. How long has this been kind of in play?
Yeah, he was an intern with us.
Okay.
Jacob interned here last summer, and he has a real passion for that. We talked with him, and he's on to something pretty good. When you go into the classroom, that's a win-win-win-win for everybody. It's a win for the students. They learn about science. They get excited about science. For the TV station, the kids get to know who you are. Problem is, we can't go to every classroom, and there's only so many of us, and Jacob wants to kind of expand that. So he's on to something.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, you got to record something? Apparently, I have to be on hold for a moment. So,
well, this bonehead doesn't know what we're doing here. We're like in the middle of the show here. I mean,
I know. Andrew, you got called a bonehead.
Yeah, exactly. I'll read one that came in right about the time the show started. This was kind of a cool email. It says, I was catching up on some old episodes and was listening to episode number 392. The show title was, Do Pigs Have Earwax? And it said, when it got to the weather roundup, James mentioned that sometimes people listen to it much later after the fact, and specifically said, if you were listening in 2017, and I think we did that show in probably 2012 or 2011, maybe 2010. So anyway, he said the little things sometimes amuse you, right? Always fun to listen to you all, and looking forward to another good one tonight. John Wilkinson. So that's pretty cool. It is interesting. Sometimes I'll just go back and listen to some random old episode, 8, 9, 10 years ago. Yeah, it's great fun. I've got them all on my computer here. But there's some pretty interesting stuff going back. And back in the days, this used to be like a really professional show when David Black was the host. David was like a real broadcaster guy, as opposed to me. I'm just a stooge. But anyway.
You know what we need to do? And I have asked once or twice, asked Brian about this, and it never seems to go anywhere. But if we could get a lot of requests, especially since he's not here, if people are interested in this, I think that he's been doing the Weather 101 for so long that he has a huge, very rich cache of wonderful, wonderful information. And I think we should start to bundle those in groups of 20 or 25 or something and start putting them out as separate podcasts through iTunes or something. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. It's really good. And what I like to do, and it's amazing to me, this is fascinating. Normally when I do this, I'll shoot straight with you. I am busy. I've got 10 things going on here, and my mind is in different places, and I honestly can't focus on the show. And typically Bill Murray does the interviews, and I get more out of this by listening the next day or later in the week while I'm driving to schools. And, I would love to have all those Professor Peters segments parsed out separately like that, so you can actually, learn something. And they're all very good. So I think that'd be another way. We did the fundraiser with the T-shirts and raised over $1,000. But I think people would pay 99 cents for
20 or 25 or whatever of these shows if we bundle them together, and then we could scoop that money up and buy us some snow tires or something.
We'll put Brian on that project. I think he works tonight and then he's off for the rest of this week. So we'll put Brian on that. So let's see. Aubrey, is that knucklehead finished?
He is all done, and I have just kicked him out of here.
Good.
All right, so this one comes in from Steve Holmes. And Steve is from Joplin, Missouri, wants to combine two of James' favorite interests, weather and baseball, in one show. Guests and topics: Mike Trout, best paid weather nerd in America. He loves Blizzards, and Jim Cantori has this info. Weather conditions, the best and worst for hitting. And does he study the sky during the game? And has he ever felt unsafe on the field due to severe weather? MLB policies, yada, yada, yada. And we might pair him with a couple of GMs to talk about ballpark safety. So that's a really cool idea. We need
to get Trout on the show. We'll see if we can make that happen during the off season. In fact, I will be at Fenway Park in Boston this week. We leave Wednesday morning. We'll be there for the game against the Indians Wednesday night, the game against the White Sox Thursday night. And my friend Mitch Moreland, first baseman for the Red Sox,
really,
he's going to let us come out on the field and watch batting practice.
That's awesome, James.
Nice.
Mitch played for the Rangers, Kevin, out in your neck of the woods for several years, for a long time, in fact. And he got traded to Boston this year, but he kind of took Ortiz's place, and he's a great guy. But we'll see if we can get Trout on sometime during the offseason. And he is a weather weenie. I've heard that from many people.
Have you been out on a professional field before? I assume you have.
Not for batting practice. I have just in an empty stadium, but not when those guys are down there taking BP. So I
never forget. I was probably 12 years old and got to go out on the field prior to a game in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Phillies. And I'm 1,000 years old now, and that was when I was 12, and I've never forgotten it. And see those ball players come out. That's really cool stuff.
And I'm a Red Sox guy, and to see those guys up close, and we got another kid from Alabama that plays up there. Now Mitch went to college at Mississippi State. He played his college ball there, but a kid from Cullman, Alabama, named Josh Rutledge plays for the Red Sox as well. So we got a lot of friends up there, so we're going to have a lot of fun. Harvey Leonard, watch out, baby. I'm coming to your market.
That is awesome. All right, should I keep going?
Yeah, go. You got all the time. Look, I can sit here all night. I don't have any news to do. This is great.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have time on my hands, right?
Yeah.
Marcus Choop sent in a great picture of some Calvin Helmholtz waves. As soon as I noticed them forming, they were gone, but he got a couple of really great pictures on there. So those are awesome that he sent in. And where was the other one I was going to maybe this is it. Yeah, this is it from Steve, the Jazz Man. A couple plans to wed during the solar eclipse in Missouri, courtesy of the AP. Samantha Adams and her fiance are planning a cosmic wedding during the solar eclipse. The couple's entire ceremony will have an eclipse theme, and every guest will be provided with a pair of solar glasses. And during the wedding, the couple plans to watch the eclipse with their guests before taking their vows.
That's funny.
Hey, y'all keep going for a minute. I got to go get my glasses. Hang on, I'll be right back.
I was just about to say glasses. That'll make for some memorable.
I've got mine. Yeah.
Memorable wedding photos, right? With the whole wedding party wearing those glasses. I actually met my wife wearing a pair of those glasses.
Really?
Yes, we met during an annular eclipse at the Science Museum of Virginia, and I was there to do the noon weather, and she was there reporting for one of the other stations, and that was the day we met. And she still tells the story of those glasses. They're the kind of the paper thing with the filters in them, but they were pink. And she still tells, oh, there you go, Aubrey's got them. They were pink, and she tells to this day how I don't even remember saying it, but something about my being man enough to wear pink glasses, and that was one of the things where she foolishly said, oh, he might be kind of interesting, and the rest is history.
Aw, that's sweet. Yeah, picked my glasses up, and actually I was testing them out today on the sun.
And so these are, and James is back. So, and Tony's been reminding us of this. These aren't, something that you find at the convenience store, right? You got to have something special.
So when you look through them, that's exactly what you see. Is you see black, complete black. If you try it in the studio lights, even outside looking down, it's just complete darkness. And I took them out today, and you look up at the sun, and it is. And I took a picture of it because I wanted to show the example on my Facebook page. And this has a gray background, but it's actually the sun with blackness all around it.
Oh.
And that's what it looks like.
Wow.
Cool.
So, and which ones? Where did you get yours, James?
I actually bought these in Lowe's.
Oh, they look like the same ones Aubrey had.
That's where I got mine, and I saw Home Depot has them today too. I was over there.
Wow. Yeah, I think Lowe's and Home Depot all carry them. I think they would like $1.99 or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, gee whiz.
So,
all right. Well,
I can see nothing when I'm looking through. It's just black. Nothing.
I'm going to share a story because it's cool, but it also ends with this same type of technology of looking at bright things. But I got this. I already showed James before the show, but Aubrey and Rick, I have a painting here.
That's awesome.
I post my lightning pictures, on Facebook, but somebody sent me a note and said, "Hey, can I paint one of your photos?" And I said, "Well, sure, of course." But then she painted it and then gave it to me. It showed up at the television station here. And so it was a very, very nice gesture. But she also included a little note and kind of explained what it was. And then, I'm sorry for the audio listeners, but I'm holding up a picture here that she attached to the note. And it's a picture of her husband during one of our severe weather events watching me on television. And I guess there was a tornado warning out. And the picture of him, she says he couldn't find a helmet, so he grabbed a welding mask, and that's what he was wearing during the tornado coverage. So anyway.
Do what you can.
Yep, exactly. Do what you can.
Any port in a storm.
All right. Should I continue?
Yeah, keep going. Hey, I got all night.
All right. And then let's see. Mary Harpster sent in a Facebook from the Sandcastle beachfront. I don't know where this is, but it's a Facebook post. And it said something about, if I can remember what, let me just open it. What's a few sprinkles when you're jumping in the water anyway? Chances are the weatherman is wrong once again, so don't miss out.
What?
Yeah. The Sandcastle Beachfront Inn, and they are in Westerly, Rhode Island.
That's Kevin's people up there.
That's Kevin's people. I have to apologize. Tell me again, Aubrey, I was multitasking. And
the Sandcastle Inn, now I forget because I closed it. Sandcastle Inn in Westerly, Rhode Island.
But what was the bit?
She said, just a few sprinkles in the forecast. What's that when you're jumping in the ocean anyways? The weatherman's always wrong.
Ah, well, those are my people, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And let's see. We have this one from Patrick Motes, a WeatherBrains listener survey response. We appreciate that. And then we also got this one in from tonight from James Dietz, or Deese. Has there ever been a time where James Spann is out?
I have the football, so I kind of have to be here. I think we need to get one of you to look. It's not that hard. What I do here, what I want to do is do a screencast one Monday night of what I see on my computer and let the audio run. I saw the No Agenda guys do. I listen to this show called No Agenda, which the language is a little salty sometimes, but it's pretty funny. This is Adam Curry, who used to be an MTV VJ, and John C. Dvorak, who is a technology writer. And it's just a very interesting show. And they have no agenda. It's it's funny. But he did a screencast. And what Adam Curry does makes me look like I'm doing nothing. I mean, that thing would make your head explode.
He has a big rig, doesn't he?
He really does. And he is dropping in sound left and right on the fly, where I'm really not doing that. But it's very interesting. But I'll do a screencast one Monday night to see how the sausage is made here. But no, I have to be on the show because for now I'm the guy that pushes the buttons. I've been on every episode, I think. Back in the beginning, David Black did it, and he ran the board, and he produced the show. There might have been one or two where I missed in the early days, but I'd say in the last 10 years, no, I've always been here.
That's right, too, because it was only audio in the early. When did we video?
That was about 4 or 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago. But before that, it was just audio on Skype. and David handled that, and there could have been an episode that I missed. But since I'd say over the last 10 years I've been here, which is a sign I have no life.
No life and no sense.
Yeah, very boring in James Spann's life. He doesn't have anything to do.
No.
This one came in from Daniel Lucas. I don't know if you guys talked about this. New model could solve huge problem with tornado forecasting. It's from Gizmodo. And this is NOAA working on a model that can predict tornadoes hours in advance instead of minutes.
Yeah.
Last week, the agency announced it had tested an experimental worn-on forecast model on an outbreak, and it was a success.
There seemed like there was a little burst of activity and reporting on that right after Greg was here, right? Is that right?
Well, it was that came from our office, and Kelly Hurdle, our NOAA Public Affairs guru, did a story on it for NOAA, and then it got out, and we're doing another Skype interview about it tomorrow, actually, in the office.
Promoting that fake news, were you?
Yeah, fake news.
But your other station there in Wichita Falls interviewed us, I think, last week or week before last. So, but it was one success. Lance Rothfuss talked about it when he was on, but yeah,
Lance,
it's gotten a lot of mileage.
Greg, I meant Lance. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fascinating stuff. But now, and we kind of rolled it around or ran out of time or something. But I think both James and I, and I'd love to hear from Rick too and Aubrey, but we started to question what's going to happen. How is this going to, when this gets out in the public, when we're talking about a 90-minute, essentially a 90-minute tornado warning or advisory or whatever it's being called. What is that going to do to the public's mindset when those start coming out? You want to go first, Rick?
We don't know. And that's, all this talk of let's do an hour lead time. Let's do 2 hours lead time. Just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should, because we don't know what people are going to do with that. This particular instance that happened back in the middle of May was not a warning. It was essentially a warning almost. We put out a statement that said, people in Western Oklahoma, there's a high likelihood you're going to be in a tornado warning sometime after 5 o'clock. I can't remember, but yeah, we don't know what people are going to do. There's already an argument that maybe 15, 20 minutes is too much lead time. So it'll be a whole new ball game.
My gut feeling, if you can give an hour or 90 minutes lead time, a lot of people are going to get in their car and drive somewhere.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sense that's not going to work out well. But as Rick says, that's a question for social scientists and not for us. I don't know.
But then you'd be driving into another storm, and and then all right, well, the particular tornado doesn't hit you, but then the next time you get another lead time and you leave, and then what happens the third time?
Right. I told the story a couple of weeks ago, but I'll tell it again to make the point because it's relevant here. Is we had a friend of one of our meteorologists and her family were driving through an unfamiliar area. It was down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but there were storms around. And while they were in a particular place, they came up on the very far edge of a warning polygon. And so we were trying to advise them, okay, this is where you need to be. And they went into a mall, but the sirens were going off. And we were here working at the television station as well, so we couldn't, tend to them continuously. But at some point in time, shortly after we told them what to do, they got in their car and drove off during the warning. And that was stunning to me, and I'm still trying to kind of process it. Fortunately, they drove in between two thunderstorm cells and never got near any kind of a tornado, but that was just fortunate and luck. But the only thing that I've been able to settle on is, okay, you're in a strange place, and those folks were actually from Birmingham, James. So, I mean, they're not unfamiliar with what goes on, and they know who you are. But you're in a strange place and the sirens are going off and it's noisy and scary. So what do? You think, okay, I guess I need to get out of here. And I bet that mindset is probably much deeper and more widespread than we all want to admit. You want to comment, James?
And I think we don't put enough emphasis on people that are driving through or are visitors in Oklahoma City and Birmingham and Wichita Falls when these tornado warnings start. They don't understand counties. They don't really understand locations or names of cities. and they don't quite know what to do or where to go. They can't go home. They don't know. And I think sometimes when I'm on the air, I need to address that more, especially for people listening by radio, because, the radio stations simulcast our audio. And we need to pay more attention to that, because that's just human nature. Goodness, you're in a strange town. You're just driving through, and all of a sudden you hear these tornado warnings, and you don't know what to do or where to go.
I think we also just need to acknowledge the fact that in the real world, people are going to do that. I mean, we can tell people all day long, don't get in your car, don't drive away in a warning, but, we still don't want to drive away in a warning, but, we started this in May of 2013 with the El Reno Day. We know people are going to do it. So can we help them do it smartly and safely? Because it's a fact of life. It's not new. It's been going on for decades. People are going to get in their car and drive somewhere in a tornado warning, hopefully not in a tornado.
Just more work for us to do.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get. I got noise behind me and stuff, so we're starting to get ready for show.
I feel bad for James. The one time he can stay, and everybody's gone and leaving.
Yeah, it's just like everybody's got to go. No, I understand. Trust me, I understand it. It's 7 minutes to the top of the hour. So, Aubrey, thanks for the email segment.
And I'm going to forward a lot of those if Bill didn't already get them, the show ideas and stuff. So he makes a note and puts all that down. Whenever he gets back from his vacation or wherever he's off to.
I'll give a little tip for all the live viewers. If you come back at around 4, James will still be here.
Yeah, this is like awesome. Wow. I mean, I got bandwidth here. I got fiber, man. I got a big pipe, and I can talk all night long on this thing. But I'm not going to do that.
That sounds like the new show title. I can talk all night long on this thing.
So let's do picks of the week. Kevin, what's your pick of the week?
I'm going to say it's actually I think the link is to my blog. Actually, I was going to say Twitter, but it's something that Rick showed me. I was lucky enough to visit with Rick last week at the National Weather Center, and he showed me the coolest thing in the world. They have this big giant metal sculpture in the lobby now, and I said it's about 7 feet tall. Is that about right, Rick?
Probably, yeah. It's good size.
And wider than that, and it is a map essentially of Oklahoma, and each county is its own piece of metal. And so the neat thing about it is those pieces of metal were cut in the shapes of the counties. And correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, you should probably tell it better than I, but they were placed on site for about 3 months at a mesonet site in each one of the Oklahoma counties to weather for about 3 months. And then tell the poster thing that's next to it, Bill. Bill, I'm sorry, Rick. I'm looking right at you.
I was waiting for
Fred.
I'm old.
Yeah, whatever. So it's really cool. So these were weathered for 3 months, and they put the state all back together. And then beside the piece of art there's a big poster that details what the weather was every one of the days that these pieces were out there. So it really is a unique piece of art and kind of a cool idea.
Yeah. So my pick is my blog post about that, and it's fairly short, but there's also a link to the artist that somebody from Mesonet sent me. Leslie Martin, I think was her name. And it's just really cool looking.
Awesome. Aubrey, what you got for us this week?
Mine is, I actually talked to a couple of meteorologists who had never heard of the Habey Hints page with Jeff Habey in the weatherprediction.com. So wanted to give that a shout out. And if you haven't checked it out, do so.
Awesome. Good deal. And all these will be up on the website. Mine, it's the GOES 16 loop of the day, off one of the pages coming from the Cooperative Institute for Research in the Atmosphere. And the one today happened to be of Tropical Storm Emily, our little overnight storm that popped up. And again, all these will be up on the website here. So since everybody's going to be a party pooper, I guess we'll just close her out here. Thanks for listening. We do the show every Monday night at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. We know that most of you listen later, and that's cool. But if you want to watch live, you can do that at live.bigbrainsmedia.com. There is a video version that's always up on YouTube and on the website. The picks of the week, the show notes, it is on weatherbrains.com. And if you would like to get in touch with us, the email address that we all see, it's email@weatherbrains.com, and our social media accounts are up on the website as well. So on behalf of the entire WeatherBrains crew, I'm James Spann. Thanks for listening. Have a great week, and God bless.
So everybody wants to know now, on a weeknight at 10 p.m., when James Spann is off and you finish the show,
I was just thinking that.
what's going to happen now? Because as we all know, you've got a big pipe and you know how to use it.
I don't know. I guess I'll just watch some cat videos on YouTube or something. Now I got to pack. We got to go to Bass.
Oh, right. Very good.
We got 2 games at Fenway, and it's going to be a bunch of fun. I'm going to be on the field during BP at Fenway, and the weather's going to be cool.
Where do you stay when you go up there, and where do you eat and stuff like that?
We love the restaurants in the north end of Boston.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kevin, it's just an ocean of unbelievable restaurants. I mean,
I lived in Boston for years. I don't know if you remember it. Yeah, as a kid.
Yeah, it's just and they're so good, and it's just you could spend like 3 months and not go to all these restaurants up there in the north end. And
right. Did you ever go to Faneuil Hall, Quincy Market and Faneuil Hall?
Oh, sure, absolutely. And you know, we've done all the history tours. I forget what they call those things, but there's somebody dressed up in garb, with the colonial garb, and they take us around, and the history is so good. In fact, our oldest son is going to go with us this time, and he has not been, so we'll probably do a history tour with him. But the weather looks very inviting, so it's always fun. But this is my last time off.
I got to go, guys. Sorry. Good seeing you again.
Yeah, bye, guys. We'll see y'all later. Have a good week. We'll talk next